And joining me now to discuss the push for President Biden's American Jobs Plan is Robert Wilson, a financial advisor at Wilson Insight, and political analyst Quentin Giles. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Quentin, I'd like to start with you. President Biden has been selling his $2 trillion plan to rebuild infrastructure and reshape the economy, but he is facing some hurdles from both Democrats and Republicans. Now, I just don't understand how on earth people could be against this when we all know that America has crumbling roads, bridges, you name it. So tell us about those hurdles.
Yeah, President Biden's plan on infrastructure really is supported by a vast amount of the American people. But as we know in the Congress, with the House and the Senate being so sharply divided and not having a supermajority, that is where President Biden is finding these hurdles. Because not every Democrat is extremely liberal. You do have some conservative Democrats in conservative states that are worried about the country's deficit, worried about how do we pay for these things that we are spending on, especially after a $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package for the American people. And so you see opposition from within his party and the usual opposition on the other side of the aisle from Republicans who traditionally are deficit hawks. Now, some are criticizing this tension because that deficit hawk mentality has been absent from the Republican Party with our previous president, but it seems to be reemerging right now, and President Biden is having to weather those storms.
Yeah, absolutely, Quentin. And Rob, I want you to respond to this as well, because let's face it, we all know the deficit's been rising for years and years. We didn't hear about that under Trump. And then, of course, we also hear about corporations not paying enough in taxes, so they certainly weren't worried about it then. So, Rob, what do you say about this plan to raise taxes on the rich? Because, of course, there are some people, primarily Republicans, who are complaining about the tax on these corporations. There's some pushback, but the average person should be happy about that, right?
Yeah, it's incredible how when the tables are turned and one party is in power, how all of a sudden we don't want to spend any money. Look, there was a huge giveaway to corporations, and we were promised a lot of things that were going to happen because we gave that money to corporations, and it really didn't happen. Yes, the unemployment rate was low, but honestly, we really just kept along the same trajectory as we were under the Obama-Biden administration, and the economy continued its strength into the pandemic. And so I think they have to sort of have a come to Jesus moment where we really have to decide who we want to help in this country. Do we want to help CEOs and corporate board members and people who are well off and who may, if they have a little less money, not be able to charter a boat for as long as they normally do? Or do we really want to help give people a hand up and help them be successful, give them the food that they need so that they can start to create the lives that they desire to live as well?
Absolutely. And Quentin, I got to talk to you about the political side of this, because this seems to be about messaging, because common sense would tell you if you're making over $1 million a year or whatever the threshold is, obviously you should be paying more money. We've heard about these corporations paying zero in taxes. We heard about the former president paying bare bones minimum in taxes. So how are they able to manipulate this political message, Quentin, when it's very obvious to most people that obviously Americans have to have proper roads, bridges? We all benefit from that. Yet they're trying to make it about politics and whatnot. How are they able to effectively message this when it's obviously ridiculous? We knew that the airline industry under President Trump took millions and millions of dollars in government money.
Yeah, to your point, that has been happening for ages. And so what we're seeing is the opposition, particularly the Republican Party against President Biden's plan, are using trigger words like socialism and Marxism and a redistribution of wealth to really rile up a base that some would argue they are advocating for things that work against them. And so that is how you continue to see things that are very much common sense. We all have roads that we need to drive on. We all want to go to a nice airport and fly in and out of it. Some airports overseas are absolutely stellar. And then you come to America and you see some airports like in the city of New Orleans that are absolutely destitute, and wonder how can this be? And that is because of years and decades of political messaging and otherizing other people and using trigger words to rile up your base, and then that base then really advocates against their own best interest.
Yeah, people just don't understand how the system really works. We're almost out of time, but Rob, I want to give you the last word because I want to hear your predictions, so to speak, on whether or not the economy is going to rebound as quickly as people are saying it is.
Yeah, I do think we're seeing all signs pointing towards a really robust economy towards the latter part of the year. I mean, there's a lot of pent-up demand. People want to get out of the house. They want to get back on planes. They want to see their friends and family. And look, because people couldn't go out of the house, they have saved up a lot of that money that either came from stimulus or for folks who were fortunate enough to be able to keep their job. So I think there's going to be a lot of money pushed out into the economy. But I also want to say, guys, let's make sure that we understand that the tax laws and a lot of the other laws are geared more towards businesses. So if you were fortunate enough to have a job, or if you're going to get one now, that's great. But our economy is based on capitalism, not employeeism. So make sure that you try to start a business and get on that side of the ledger so you can take advantage of a lot of these laws that the legislators want to pass.
Great advice. Gentlemen, we're out of time, but thank you both, Robert and Quentin. We appreciate you joining us here on BNC Live. Take care.